Good morning. My name is Charlie Baum, and we're going to begin our discussion of perfect competition with me showing you how a perfectly competitive firm maximizes profits. We're going to assume that a perfectly competitive firm maximizes profits by picking the profit maximizing quantity. This is going to be the quantity where profit is as large as possible. The definition of profit is total revenue minus total cost. I also want to point out that in a perfectly competitive market, there are many firms. No one firm has enough power in the market to influence the market price. That means a firm in a perfectly competitive market can sell as many units of output as it wants at the price that's in the market. This means the market price for a firm equals its average revenue because each unit of output sells for the price. That means that each unit's marginal revenue is also equal to price. Let's consider a table that illustrates this. In this table, I'm showing you the number of units of output that a perfectly competitive firm could produce. And we're assuming that this is some type of farmer that's producing wheat. You'll notice that the farmer can produce anywhere between 0 and 10 bushels of wheat and can get a price of $7 for each of them. This individual firm's decisions don't affect the market price because this firm is such a small part of the overall supply in the market. So total revenue equals the quantity produced multiplied by price. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. What you'll notice is each unit of output sells for the market price, so total revenue equals output multiplied by the same $7 price. This shows us that average revenue for each unit of output is the market price. If 4 units of output sell for $28, then they're selling for $7 each on average. In another example, if 5 units of output generate $35 in total revenue, then that means the 5 units of output are generating on average $7 in revenue, and that's equal to the market price. This tells us that marginal revenue is also equal to 7. Marginal revenue tells us how total revenue changes with each additional unit of output being sold, so that if we're selling, for example, 2 units of output and we have $14 in revenue from them, and we decide to sell a third unit of output, then total revenue will go up by 7 from $14 to $21. You calculate marginal revenue by examining the change in total revenue between rows. So for example, if we go from 3 units of output generating $21 to 4 units of output generating $28, then that means 7 additional dollars in revenue are generated from producing and selling the 4th unit. The marginal revenue of the 5th unit is also 7 because when we go from producing 4 units to 5 units, revenue goes up by 7 from $28 to $35. This table is going to show us the same total revenue figures we saw in the prior slide, and I'm going to add total cost figures. Profit equals total revenue minus total cost. So if we add profit to this chart, you can see that profit is as large as possible in this example when the farmer is producing 7 bushels of output. This is where profit is $13.50, and that's the highest level of any of the 10 levels of output that you see in the chart. We are identifying where profit is highest by essentially producing that level of output where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. If there's not a particular row in the table where marginal revenue is exactly equal to marginal cost, then what the farmer should do is produce all the units of output that have a marginal revenue that's greater than marginal cost, because those are profitable units, and stop production before producing any units that would cost more than the revenue they would generate. For example, all units after 7 have a marginal cost that is greater than their marginal revenue. So producing these units would lower profits, so we don't want to produce any of them. So the profit maximizing rule is to produce all the units for which marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost, stop production before producing any unit for which marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue. I'm going to show this to you graphically now. The blue line at $4 is going to be the marginal revenue curve. And this reflects the price that each unit of output sells for in the perfectly competitive market. Next, I will show you the marginal cost curve. And in this graph, the perfectly competitive firm should maximize profits by producing that quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. That's where the marginal cost curve and marginal revenue curve intersect one another. If an integer must be produced instead of a fraction, then what the firm should do is it should produce all the units for which marginal revenue, indicated by the market price, is greater than marginal cost. Stop production before any unit is produced that would have a higher marginal cost than marginal revenue. In this graph, that corresponds to 6 units of output. So the rules of profit maximization are to produce that quantity where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. For a perfectly competitive firm, marginal revenue always equals price. And so that means for a perfectly competitive firm, the profit maximization rule can be stated as produce that level of output where price equals marginal cost. Or again, if there's no particular number at which they're equal, then produce all the units for which price is greater than marginal cost and stop production before producing any unit for which marginal cost would be greater.